Calling to order the Planning, Building, and Zoning Committee for this December 10th, 2018. May we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Stanton.
Present.
Vice Chairman Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present. And we're all here. Approval of the minutes of November 12th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Anybody notice any corrections or deletions that need to be made? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Approved. November 19th, 2018. Can we have approval of that?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We got seconds and thirds, but that'll do it. Anybody notice any corrections or deletions on those? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. They are approved. New business, request by Structured Real Estate for a courtesy review for a new Camping World and Gander Outdoors Retail RV dealership facility with outdoor RV display at the southeast corner of Beverly Road and Prairie Stone Parkway. Are our petitioners here? I will. Thank you. Good evening. Could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Stephen Doyle, and work address is 171 North Aberdeen in Chicago.
All right, thank you. Do you understand that your appearance before the Planning, Building, and Zoning Committee shall not constitute any village board endorsement, support, or implied approval of the subject property? And do you also understand that the final project approval or denial shall only occur through official village board action?
I understand, yes.
Okay, thank
Thanks
you.
for having me here, though.
Why don't you proceed then?
So my name is Stephen Doyle. I work for Structured Real Estate, a company based in Chicago. We work with Camping World, Gander Outdoors on a national basis. I'm here to speak about a project that they chose the land for, that they're very interested in, which is the northwest corner of Prairie Stone, with Prairie Stone Parkway, Beverly Road, and Interstate 90. It would be approximately about a 47,000 square foot facility. I'm sorry, 57,000 square foot facility that would combine RV sales, RV dealership, and outdoor related retail. Camping World has been in business for more than 50 years. They went public about 3 years ago. 2 years ago, they purchased Gander Outdoor, and they've been combining their businesses together, where they have the outdoor with the RV. They have two other facilities here in Chicago, one in Island Lake that's been open, I think, for about 3 years or so, and then one in Roscoe that we worked with them and developed that we turned over actually today. They started moving in there in Roscoe today. So this would be their third facility that they're interested in your community. It would have approximately 14 service bays in it. It would have approximately 75 to 90 jobs that are a mix of service, retail, service tech, and dealership positions. And the income that on an annual sales volume could be anywhere from, say, $45 to $50 million through all the products that they would bring to the site.
Do you want to talk about the structure that you plan on putting there as well?
So, yes, so it would be 17 acres. There's already detention on the site that I think we can use to take care of the detention for the site. It's about 40,000 square feet of retail in the front. Typical retail-looking building. I think you guys have a package in front of you. It would be a steel structure. It could possibly have a concrete facade, or it could possibly have a stucco facade, similar to a lot of other retail boxes. And then if you look at the site plan, there's about 350 parking spaces in the front. That's for the retail. There's also some spaces for RV, for people that come and do the service. The little different from auto dealerships. In auto dealerships, a lot of the product is sort of, you can pull up and walk around and start looking at it if you'd like. Everything that they have as far as product is all behind a fence. The public can't go back there unless they have somebody from Camping World with them. They usually have a half a dozen or so golf carts, so if you come in and you're interested in buying a unit, or if you're looking at any of their drivables or towables, you'll go back to look at the units with somebody from Camping World. So it is completely fenced in. We try and make the separation between the part that's the public parking in the front and then where the vehicles are. We put wrought iron fencing in there. We like to have a landscape buffer in there so that there's a separation. It's not just putting a fence on some pavement. So we spend some time and effort on making the experience coming into the front of the building, but also experience for people coming onto the site to feel like a typical everyday retail experience.
The vehicles themselves, the RVs, would be on the expressway?
Yeah, the site itself, the site itself is fronting on 90, so it will be. I want to note that there's there's about a 15-foot grade change there. If you're driving east, driving west on 90, there's about a 15-foot grade change between the road and where the vehicles are, and it's set back behind there's also IDOT land there as well. So it's not literally right up on 90. I want to make sure I'm clear about that.
Pete, do you want to go through stuff before everybody else asks questions?
Sure, and I tried to touch on the basic background of the site. Obviously, this was once approved for a hotel water park that never got built during the recession. Obviously, it's in that portion of the park that has been somewhat evolving from the corporate campus setting into a more entertainment, retail, restaurant environment. And I also noted, as you're well aware, the village recently retained a consultant to take a look at Prairie Stone and really the western area north of the tollway and help provide some framework and guidance on what would be the most appropriate land use choices for some of these vacant parcels or any redevelopment that may occur, to try and make sure that there is connectivity and synergy between parcels, with kind of the center being around the Village Green property and the Sears Center Arena. So this property is definitely within that zone of influence, so whatever is done here obviously would be a factor in kind of guiding the character of future development in the park. Other than that, they're very conceptual at this point. We really haven't done a significant plan review. I did note some things we would want to look at more carefully, such as improved access, screening, buffering, to the extent that that's feasible, with the product obviously being large RVs. We do recognize there is somewhat of a grade change in things going on along the tollway ramp, so we don't really have the details at this point to tell what you would see or not see, but it certainly is not just wide open views. There's just a lot of operational things I guess we would really want to kind of nail down if we get into the actual site plan on this project. But the petitioners as well as staff, I think, identified that this is really a different use. This amount of outdoor storage and display on this size of property and this scale is really something different from really any typical retail business. It's akin to an auto dealership, except on a larger scale. So we thought, and they thought it was very appropriate to get feedback from the committee at this time before they really go too far with anything, just to kind of get a sense of where everybody sees this.
At this location, do you have oil changing bays and things of that nature as well?
Yeah, there's 14 service bays that are in the back, without lack of a better way to put it, that the units are brought in and all sorts of types of service work's done to
Oh,
them.
so it's just like a car dealership in the sense that they're going to be
Correct.
working on these vehicles?
Correct.
Engines, tires, whatever
Yep.
is
correct.
needed.
Yep. And that's in the back behind the fence. So if somebody brings a unit to up to the building. There's a porta-cochet that they park under. Service technician comes out, greets them, come in, find out what they need to be done with the unit, and then the unit is taken by the Camping World employee behind, back to the service area.
You said you had a location in Highland Lake. On a daily basis, what kind of traffic do you see?
I'm sorry, I can't answer that about Island Lake. I wasn't involved in the Island Lake project. Help me understand what you're looking for as far as how much.
Well, how many people would come in on a daily basis?
I can't answer that one, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'd be guessing.
Anybody else have more questions, Mayor?
What do you estimate the sales will be?
Between 45 and $50 million of revenue.
And our sales tax would amount to what, Mr. Gugliotta?
We don't have actual numbers because I believe the RV sales would be limited, just like automobiles are, to 1%. I don't know the breakdown of that sales number relative to the retail store, so I don't know
And I can't
if
give that
that's,
right now.
yeah, we
that's a
don't have
total.
that kind of detail at this point.
I think we'd like to know that if this goes forward.
Trustee Mills, you wanted to?
There's an RV lot, I think it's like at the tollway in 47, if you're familiar with that. Would this look similar to that, where it's just campers all over, or?
I mean, Camping World has their units that,
Uh-huh.
that they park them so that people can see them. I think the biggest difference, and I've driven by that a lot because I drive out to Roscoe.
Sure.
I think the biggest difference is that one, the elevation is the same between the highway and the lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the one we're doing in Roscoe, the elevation is the same between the highway and the lot, so you can't miss them. But like I said, the elevation on this one is 15 feet. We did a cross-section that I didn't include to Pete because I couldn't get it into the package, but it's 15 feet from the highway up, and then there's actually a berm at the top of that.
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is it's basically just whole rows of the RV vehicles, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any other sales that would take place on premises, or is it strictly the vehicles themselves?
No, it's not strictly the vehicles themselves at all. They have 40,000 square feet of retail that has to do with outdoor products, hunting, fishing, hiking, RV, you name it. I mean, they've always had
Similar to Cabela's, then?
they've always had the retail portion of their business. It's been, relatively focused on RV, and when they purchased the Gander Outdoor 2 years ago, they now have, they offer a wide range of products for retail sales.
Trustee Palafis?
I'm having flashbacks when, Max and Irma's closed, and Metropolis came in for like a week and closed, and then Enterprise came in and wanted to do like a used car thing, and we waited and got Moretti's. I'm kind of there with this proposal. I think it's a great proposal if it was a mile down on Plotie's property, but not this corner of a prevalent lot on a prevalent corner so close to somebody who's already in the same vertical as Cabela's.
It's funny you should mention that because the mayor and I met with Jim Norris and these people, and we kind of mentioned the same thing, and Jim indicated that, getting feedback from the two of us may not be just all you need. You may need to get feedback from everybody to see how this flies. So,
Yeah, and some of that toxic soil that we would just want to pave over, is better a mile down the road than perhaps this corner lot, that seems prevalent for something else that at least I had envisioned, for that area as a part of that western area development, the entertainment district style. I mean, big fan of Gander Mountain. We used to drive up there as kids, to Wilmot. It was like the only place around. Nevertheless, that's just kind of where I'm at, speaking to you all. A good idea, just a little bit further down, not there. Similar to the Moretti's, and I think waiting, in that case, paid us off well. Although I do see the money aspect. That's real to me, but just not there.
it's very real. Mike?
Yeah, well, one of the questions was about Cabela's, all right, because they're in direct competition with Cabela's. And also, as far as a display line, how many vehicles or how many RVs are you going to have on this line that's going to be facing 90?
Well, the count for the RVs is about 300 or so back there. I mean, that's kind of what their target is. And I mean, like, as I was saying earlier, it isn't going to be like the one in Huntley. I mean, Camping World is very aware of that. They picked this site. I didn't pick the site for them. And they're very aware that, that it doesn't have the sight lines as the one on Huntley. But what they're interested in is the easy on and off for their customers. A lot of their customers aren't local. A lot of their customers are destination customers.
So if I
And
understood,
they like the easy
if
on
I
and they like
understood-
the easy off.
If I understood you correctly, that you're saying that you would have a couple hundred or 300?
In the light shaded green area that you see on that plan, there's enough parking there for 300 units. There's a second plan there. I don't know if you can see the second plan.
Pete, I don't have it where it's green. I have the green where it's shrubs, but
Ours
where
is white.
90 is.
Ours is white. He's holding up the green.
This is what's called the back of the house. So this is where they're gonna have the RVs, the towables, and the units back here. That, what I talked about earlier, the public can't get back there unless they have a,
We need you on the microphone.
I'm sorry, I apologize. So that, the shaded green area, that's the back of the house. So that's the RV
And that's what's going to be
display area.
facing 90, correct?
You got it, correct.
And so that's where you're going to be showing 100 or 200 or 300 vehicles, correct?
Correct. But as I said earlier, and I told this to Pete, that I'm not convinced that, and I have something I could show now, but I don't know if it's appropriate, but I'm not convinced you're going to see the vehicles. I'm not even convinced you're going to see the building because of the height difference. The highway itself is 15 feet lower than where those vehicles are. So it's not the other way around. It's not like it's the lot is 15 feet lower and you're driving down the highway and you can't miss it. It's actually higher, and it's back considerably from where the IDOT is. I'm sorry, from where the IDOT land is.
Okay.
Okay? I understand that's a concern, but this site has some unique characteristics to it physically. That
I think it's
are,
a good idea. The only thing I'm concerned about is Cabela's, to be honest with you. They were the first ones to get in there. And basically, it's almost the exact same thing that Gander Mountain has. Or they don't call it that anymore, do they?
it's called Gander Outdoor,
Okay.
and it's similar in that it's outdoor products and outdoor lifestyle. But Camping World is the only national retailer you're going to find that also does the retail sales and the retail service, which is a big part of their business. And as I was saying earlier, you know, their stores are destination stores. People will plan that out on their trips. They'll plan out stopping there because they want something very RV specific that the competition, the other outdoor store companies in the United States, they don't offer. They don't offer that RV piece of it. So I just want to make sure I'm very clear that there is a difference between the two retailers. And similar, you know, similar to a lot of other retailers, where you have Home Depot and you have
Menards.
Menards, thank you. They're in a lot of the same locations. You know, I can tell you, you know, just doing some quick research over the weekend, in Bowling Green, they're literally on the same interchange across from each other. They're already there doing business near each other. And I was able to find at least 10 cities that they're in the same city within 5 miles of each other. So that's what happens in our country as a free market economy. Retailers compete, and a lot of times they're near each other. But it's a different type of destination than the other retailer that you're bringing up.
Okay, that's all I have, sir.
Mayor.
Yeah, do you have a contingency contract for this land?
Yes. So we're under contract. We're in the due diligence period right now to try and assess whether or not the project's feasible here. And Camping World really would like to be here, but if it's so be it, it's not a fit. They're not going to go to the Plody land. They're not going to go down the road. I can tell you that right now. This is the one that they picked.
Why not?
This is what the president picked. This is the one they want. So.
just because.
Yeah.
What about property that's further down the road east of here in Sutton Crossing? Would they ever be interested in something like that? And of course, the other issue is, would Sutton Crossing be interested?
You know, they're looking for visibility.
Well, I think they'd have visibility on Sutton Crossing's land.
I can't speak to that. I can only speak to the one that my tenant and customer and client would like to be at. So they want a presence in the northwest suburbs. They want to be on 90, and, you know, this is the one that they picked and told me that, please put it under contract, Steve, and see if it can be a project.
Yes, trustee Mills.
Well, my concern, and I would be more interested in finding out more of the dollar figures on there, as the mayor talked about.
Sure.
But my concern is kind of a, forgive me for saying this, but a sea of concrete sitting right at that prime location. I do have some concerns about that, and if it is the best fit for us in my mind. Can't talk for anybody else, but I would have some concerns about putting it at that location.
Understood.
I mean, do you want a consensus of the people up here?
You can't ask for,
I,
you can't ask for a
No, there'd be no
consensus.
vote.
No.
yeah, I mean, it's a courtesy review, which
Right.
I appreciate. I've never been able to have the opportunity to do this with any community. It's very rare, and I want to hear the comments. I don't know that I'm going to walk away from here with a feeling knowing that I should come back or not. I don't know what the next step after this, because I've never done a courtesy review. But I do want to hear from everybody. I really do. Whether it's good or bad, I'd like to hear it.
Anybody else have any other comments up here? Otherwise, you, I guess, heard all the comments that you're going to hear from at least 5 of us. Okay, I guess that's it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Second, we have a request approval of a purchase and sale agreement for the former fire station number 24 at 2601 Pradham Avenue to WT Properties in Schaumburg 1 LLC, and an ordinance approving the sale.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Who wants to take this, guys?
Start?
Okay.
Unless. So we've been talking about this proposed sale for some time. The village board declared the old fire station property a surplus back in 2010. We've obtained an appraisal for the site that values it at $895,000. Since it's not being used actively for municipal purposes, we have some obligation to return that property onto the tax rolls and to turn it into a more beneficial use. WT Properties has been interested in the property for some time. They've offered a price which is equal to the appraised value, and by state statute, it has to be at least 80% or more of the appraised value. We're at 100% of the appraised value, so we check that box. We have attached a proposed lease to the purchase and sale agreement, since the village will need to store things that are currently in the bay area of the fire station in a new facility, which, pending the sale of this property, those proceeds would go towards building a storage facility. So we have a 18-month lease, and then mutually we can extend it we can go month to month after that if we need it, but we believe that we should be able to have that storage building up and running in 18 months. Legal has reviewed all the documents, signed off on it, and Troy Trepon from WT is here. Do you have any questions for him?
Does anybody have any questions for Troy? Guess we don't get to hear from you, Troy.
Thank you for your time this evening.
Maybe. Gary, you have a question?
Once you gain control of the property, do you have like a phase plan of, I mean, I read the packet and what you're thinking, But has that changed, or are you thinking of like, because it said you were gonna, maybe eliminate parts of the building but keep others, and are you just, kind of what's your, do you have a phase plan? I know you need the parking.
Yes.
Anytime I drive by there, it's easy to see that, you're full.
Yes, and we are very grateful to the village for allowing us to use that as an overflow option as it stands today. But our very first immediate goal would be to submit for a much larger parking lot tied into our parking lot. When we built our building, we have approximately 100 parking stalls. We could probably fit 200 people comfortably in our building, but we're also short on amenities. So I would immediately expand the parking, and then very shortly after this coming spring, begin remodeling plans to move in a couple of my divisions, as well as add amenities for my employees to use in the fire station. And it's a unique building. It should be a fun project, and I know I have a lot of engineers looking forward to what they can do with it, and it'll be a place they get to enjoy as well.
So you're not thinking of knocking it down and starting over then?
Not in the short term. In the long term, we plan on, obviously a fire station isn't something you see come on the market very often. In the long run, we'll see what happens in the Prairie Stone area. We are committed to Hoffman Estates. We're committed to being there for most likely my entire career, which has a long way to go. So if we do redevelop it, it will be in conjunction with an expansion of the WT building as it stands today.
Yeah, I was just curious because, when you see fire stations repurposed, they're usually in like a dense area. Like Naperville did a pizza place, which is cool. Slade Street and Palatine did a ice cream shop and stuff, but that's kind of out in the middle of, So,
I'd love a microbrew there, but I need the space, unfortunately.
there was some other guy who had that idea too, but yeah, there you go. That's all for me.
Yes, trustee Mills.
Now, will WT have to come back before us for any changes to the property? Or is this use considered,
Any changes to the property, the parking lot would have to go through site plan. If
Okay.
there was a,
same as anything else?
anything on the exterior. On the inside, he would just need to get permits if he's adding walls, tearing down walls, changing electrical and things like that. But the site plan would apply to anything on the exterior.
Okay, great, thank you.
I have a question as to far as our storing things at the location still. There's no room at the Sears Center whatsoever for all this, or is this Public Works vehicles as well that's on the
It's
site?
Public Works and Sears Center, and no, there's really no room at the Sears Center currently. That's why they're storing stuff at the fire station.
Right, and that's why we're going to look to construct the new storage over at the Sears Center so we can move all that stuff out into it. It'll be mostly Public Works and the Sears Center equipment.
Where were we looking to do that?
The spot we were looking at currently is off of, by the suite parking on the north side of that, on the east side of the property.
Is that section C or parking C, or is that,
It's by the loading dock, just
Yeah,
south of the
see.
loading dock.
So it's up from the loading dock, just to the north of the suite entrance. And it would probably remove maybe 15 or 20 parking spaces, I think, the current size that we're looking at. So it wouldn't be terribly detrimental to the
close
overall
to the
parking.
building or away from the building?
Close to the building, but not attached,
Yeah.
freestanding.
Okay. Thanks. Anybody else with any other questions up here? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. 3 is request approval of an ordinance designating an enterprise zone in the western portion of the village of Hoffman Estates.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Kevin, you want to explain this?
Yeah, so you'll remember back in November, I came asking for permission to at least spend some time on the application. The application now is almost complete, and part of that, DCEO requires an ordinance from the municipality stating a few different things which are in that ordinance. Within the application, though, there's really 11 criteria that they set out, and you need to meet at least 3 of them. As I said in the report, we think we meet at least 5 pretty well, and then you can also get credit for others. Partial credit if you sort of meet another criteria. So we're putting together the application for trying to meet all 11 as best as we can. We think we have a pretty good shot on this. And so that's why this ordinance is the last piece to it. And then we need to submit by the end of the year. My plan just with holidays and stuff is to submit before Christmas to make sure I can check in after Christmas that they got it on time with mail and everything, because they do like paper copies down there. So that's the plan is to submit, but it needs to be in by the end of the year. And then just timing wise, they say on their website that they let you know middle of the year, but usually it's not till September, October, maybe even November, because that's how the state works sometimes. So we would hear sometime in the fall of next year if the zone was approved, and then it would be activated January 1, 2020, if it is approved.
Thank you. Any questions from the board or members of this committee? No? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. 4, request approval of a resolution to induce development interest in property that is within the Village of Hoffman Estates for development as a redevelopment project area, which is now known as the Lakewood Center redevelopment.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Mark?
So you've seen inducement resolutions in the past for our other TIFs. This is a very standard procedure across Illinois. As everybody knows, we've been working with Somerset Development on the repurposing of the AT&T Center, and we looked at a range of different incentives and settled on TIF as being the most viable. We've already initiated that process. The Joint Review Board met a few weeks ago and voted to recommend approval of the TIF. There's a TIF public hearing on January 7th, and then the ordinances would be presented to the village board on the 21st of January. So at that point, the board would decide whether or not to adopt those ordinances which create the TIF. The inducement resolution just says that any cost incurred up until the formation of the TIF can be considered as eligible cost and can be reimbursed. We're doing this not so much for the developer, as they will have plenty of costs to be reimbursed, but also for the village, since we'll have consultant costs and staff time that we've put in for several months now. And we'd be able to recapture those costs if and when the TIF is approved. And again, this does not commit the village board to anything other than reimbursing those costs considered eligible if a TIF is approved in January. So we're just kind of covering our bases and being able to recoup some costs if the TIF is approved.
Thank you.
And Larry Woodard from representing Somerset is here also.
Would you like to address us? And if you do, can you state your name
Certainly.
and your address for the record?
Certainly. For the record, Larry Woodard. I represent Somerset Development. The address is 225 West Washington in Chicago. Thank you for taking the opportunity to hear the inducement resolution. I believe you're all somewhat familiar to very familiar of what my client intends on doing at the property. This is a part of the continuation of what is so far excellent cooperation amongst the village and my client as it relates to attempting to redevelop the property, trying to put together what's needed to redevelop the property. It is a massive building that needs significant upgrades. As you know, we're trying to redevelop it to have a live, work, play, but even beyond that, to create a community within the building. There are no 1.6 million square foot single tenant office users, so part of that will be to turn it into a multi-tenant, but it'd be much, much more. There's going to be a central pedway, there's going to be retail, there's going to be hopefully a hotel at some point, residential. And part of the TIF is to include part of the money to foster that development, to also include infrastructure, to tie in the bike paths and various paths and lanes from adjacent properties, to hopefully tie into whatever we need for the new Pace Center, and to really just pay for part of the cost that it takes to further make this building not only what we envision it, but to make it inclusive amongst and part of the surrounding community.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes, trustee Palafis.
I had two. Mark, does the fees, would that cover legal fees as well when you say staff time?
Yes.
Okay.
It's very
So we know how
important.
expensive that could be. Present company excluded, of course.
Not.
Talking about Patty's time, it's very valuable. You know. And then the second question is, are you going to knock down or have any plans to knock down any of that structure? I mean, I worked there when it was a Meritech, and
No.
in my mind, maybe you'll be creative and do some cool things. It was the secondary idea was a mall.
The reason why my client is buying is because of the structure that's there. It's very similarly designed to a project that they did in New Jersey. It was almost the exact same type of architecture. There's center areas that you don't find
Right.
in other buildings. That we couldn't buy the Aon, we couldn't buy, Allstate's headquarters. This is why it makes it very unique to us, yes. So we're going to keep most, if not all of it, but certainly the main building, absolutely.
So to elaborate, and it's interesting that you asked the question tonight, because this morning I spent 2 hours with code officials and Somerset's architect and mechanical engineering engineers walking the building and talking about what they want to do and what it's going to take, and then how are we going to apply the codes and all that. And there's going to be a fair amount of interior demolition, so that they will open up what used to be, in most of the areas, pretty closed off, that main pedestrian spine through the building, but they will open that up for retail. So they'll be taking out a lot of that glass block that's in there, if you remember that,
Yeah.
a lot of the first floor walls to open that up and creating some retail spaces. Some of the walkways are going to come down, the staircases are going to come down, the ones that aren't needed for emergency exiting. So there's a fair amount of internal stuff, and that'll, the MEP, mechanical engineering systems, will be changed quite a bit, not only to modernize, but to make them appropriate for a multi-tenant use, as opposed to a single corporate tenant that had, for the most part, large open offices on each of the 3 main floors.
And you'll keep the parking decks intact, you think, or?
Yes,
Yeah.
and for the most part, to the extent that we can.
Another thing about that building, I don't know if they took it out, but massive. I mean, millions of miles of fiber, no exaggeration. So I don't know if that's of any value, if you do some creative things with, or where it terminates anymore, but there's quite a bit of infrastructure
Yeah.
that lit that place up. And it was one of the RBOCs, one of the 5.
Yep.
That's all for me.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commissioners up here? Anybody from the public that wishes to address us on this? All right, we have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Reports for information only. First, Planning Division Monthly Report. Anybody have any questions regarding that? All right, we'll have that received and filed. Code Enforcement Division Monthly Report. Anybody have any questions regarding that? And that'll be received and filed. And Economic Development and Tourism Monthly Report. Any questions for Kevin? Nope. Okay, that'll be received and filed. President's Report.
Yeah, a few things. First off, happy birthday to Trustee Anna Newell. Will be coming up this Friday. It's wonderful. On Wednesday, December 12th, in the Hennessy Room at the Village Hall, where at 6 o'clock we'll be having a tax appeal seminar for Schaumburg Township residents. John Lawson, the Schaumburg Township Assessor, will be here, along with the presenter, Cook County Board of Review Commissioner Dan Patlock. Learn how to appeal your property tax assessment, fill out appeal forms at the end of the session, and meet with analysts from the Board of Review. So again, the event begins at 6 p.m. We'll be in the Hennessy Room. On Friday, December 14th, the Whittier City Bulls will host a District 54 takeover night. At the game on Friday at the Sears Center, and a portion of each ticket sold will be donated back to the District 54 Education Foundation's Food for Thought program. Last year's inaugural District 54 takeover night at the Windy City Bulls raised more than $4,000 to help the foundation provide breakfast for District 54 students from financially struggling families. They're hopeful that this year's event will be even more successful. The event will feature performances by District 54 students on the court prior to and throughout the game, as well as a District 54 Special Olympics basketball match at halftime. Purchase tickets for the game at www.groupmatics.events/events/D54night. And on Saturday the 15th at the Trip-On Center, there'll be a free skate with Santa from 1 to 3 p.m. Admission and skate rental are free, and each child will receive a free hot chocolate and cookie. For more info, contact Missy at 847-781-3642, and cookies and hot chocolate are provided by Garibaldi's. Okay, last Wednesday, attended the executive session of the Northwest Municipal Conference, and had a presentation by Metra following that, where Carlson, the chairman of the board of Metra, and Rod Craig were there with Derwinski, who is the executive director, and they talked about what their plans are for the future and actually how much money they need to rehab and update their facilities. They actually still are running some passenger cars from 1953. And they do quite a job repairing the engines. A lot of the engines go back all the way to the 70s. So it was very interesting, in some ways kind of depressing, because we have such a great transportation system, and it's got to be updated. On Thursday, December 6th, I participated in the National League of Cities Scooter Coordination Call. Scooters are coming back, and under many states' laws, they're considered toys, so they can be riding on sidewalks, and everybody's trying to figure out how to deal with this. And on that evening on the 6th, we had our annual volunteer appreciation dinner. I want to thank everybody who put that together, Linda Scheck and Jennifer Georgievic and Sue Lesson and everyone else. And we had the choral airs. And Andrea Sonnenberg, one of our residents, is a member of that group. And they perform all over the world. And it was really great to have them at our event. That was really cool. On Sunday the 9th, a lot of us were at Shop with the Cop, rapping and taping and all that good kind of stuff. They only let me tape because they've seen me rap. I don't mean the RAP rap. Today, we had a swearing in of a probationary firefighter, Kimberly Gading. Yes, a woman firefighter. It's first for Hoffman Estates, so it's historic. And this evening we celebrated Trustee Newell's birthday a little bit in advance. We'll be celebrating again on Friday, so Trustee Plowso and Dolly want to know where the party is.
That's right. I know already.
And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Chairman Stanton.
We have nothing in other or items in review, so I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned.
I'd like to go ahead and call the General Administration and Personnel Committee for the Village of Hoffman Estates for December 10th, 2018. May I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Arnett.
Present.
Vice Chairman Mills.
Present.
Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum. If I can get approval of the minutes for November 12th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Did anybody have any questions or additions or changes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We have three new items under new business. Number one is request approval of the 2019 Village Board and Standing Committees meetings scheduled.
So moved.
I'll second.
Anybody have anything they want to add? Staff?
If I could just say a couple things. This is our annual look ahead to the meeting schedule for next year, for 2019. We always look for conflicts in any holidays or conferences. There are two this year, and it's really just the normal holidays of Memorial Day and Labor Day. So we put a schedule together that's in your packet, similar to how we've done it in the past, where we've moved the Labor Day from that Monday to the Tuesday. And for Memorial Day, you can do whichever way you'd like it. We could move it to Tuesday, or we could move the meeting, the committee meetings before the village board meeting the following Monday, which is how we have done it in the past. Other than that, there are no conflicts. So we just looking for, staff is just looking for direction on how you would like to address the calendar for next year.
Trustee Mills?
Well, I would have a conflict with moving it to that Tuesday, the 28th of May, for Memorial Day. But can you go an extra week before you were to have bills approved and stuff?
Those are committees, so it would just be putting the committees in front of the village
Okay.
board meeting.
All right. Well, I'd rather go with the Monday, the 3rd, then.
Trustee Palafis?
I'm a fan of doubling up versus Tuesdays as well.
I agree on that. Mayor?
Well, I still don't like the summer schedules. I think we go too long without meetings. It's my 2 cents.
We did look at it a little differently this year. There's the way that the calendar fell, we can actually do the meetings in July on the 8th and the 22nd, and then in August, we can do them on the 5th and the 19th. And that way, we only have, I think at the most, we have a 2-week period in the end of July. So there's not a long stretch in between meetings.
Anybody else have any questions or anything? Okay, all those in favor of the schedule as we have proposed?
Being on the 3rd,
Do we need to do Labor Day, too?
well, I think we have it set for the 3rd.
Do we? Okay.
Yeah, the Labor Day is set for that Tuesday.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ayes have it.
Thank you.
Number 2, request approval of an ordinance declaring village property surplus and permitting the sale of personal property owned by the village.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, staff have anything to add?
Nope, this is just a typical auction. We come before the board and have the items that we want declared surplus, and then we put them through our public auction process, like we've done in the past.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ayes have it. Item number 3, request approval of a 1-year contract extension for the 2019 full-service professional printing services for the monthly citizen newsletter with Press Tech out of Des Plaines, Illinois, in the amount of $31,723.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, does staff have anything to add? No.
This is just the continuation of existing contract. We've been very satisfied with the terms of the contract as well as their performance.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Staff? Nope. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, ayes have it. We'll move on to the reports for information only. Number 1 is a cable TV monthly report. We have any questions? Okay, we can receive and file that. Number 2 is Human Resources monthly report. No questions? Okay. Receive and file that. And number 3 is Legislative Operations and Outreach monthly report. Deferral requested. Okay, if we can go ahead and receive and
I think we, do
defer that.
we have to vote on that?
I don't think so.
Art, do we have to vote on the deferral?
Deferral?
It's an information only.
Oh, not for information.
It's a report.
Okay, so we can just go ahead and receive and file that?
Well, there's
Okay.
nothing to receive and file.
Okay,
Or you can just,
we can defer that.
or you can defer to the next agenda if you wish.
Okay, we can defer that to the next agenda.
Yep.
Anything other in President's report?
Yeah, one item that I did forget to mention, also participating in a webinar on the FCC small cell, the ongoing battles going over the small cell siting by companies who apparently don't want any supervision, want to use all their infrastructure for little or nothing. So that was very interesting also. I got some information I'll ship on to the lawyers. That's all.
Thank you.
Just as a follow-up to what the mayor's saying, the legal department, the Illinois Municipal League, and I think at the national level also this issue of the small cell towers and antennas is being watched very closely, and we believe there's some action that'll be taken by the federal government regulatory agencies within probably the next few months. So it's ongoing, but the governments actually have a unified position and are presenting that at the national level, and we'll just see what happens.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question? Is that the administration or is that Congress itself?
I believe it's both, and the FCC, as a regulatory agency, has some input, and of course, Congress has the ability, and I believe there are some bills that are pending in Congress. So the answer is both.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't see any other items in items in review. If we can have a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned.
Moving right along, I'd like to call to order the Transportation and Road Improvement Committee for the Village of Hoffman Estates for December 10th, 2018. Could we please call the roll?
Chairman Mills.
Present.
Vice Chairman Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Gata.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. I look for a motion to approve the minutes of November 12th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any corrections, changes? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Under new business this evening, number one, request approval of a letter of intent with the state of Illinois for the Barrington Road, Central Road to Algonquin Road project.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Hanky, did you wish to address this?
Just to highlight that the majority of the project improvement is located within South Barrington. However, there are some village responsibilities for improvements to the pedestrian crossings at the Lakewood Barrington Road intersection, as well as replacement of the Opticom on the signals, which is a local responsibility. So the cost that you see in there, $15,000 estimated right now, is the current estimate of what our obligation would be. The project won't actually go to construction probably for another couple of years. So future budgets would need to plan for this.
Mayor, you had something?
Yeah, South Barrington's actually in favor of this? Or not opposed to it, or?
They've agreed to the scope of the improvements, yeah.
Wow.
Including
Amazing.
the bike path on the west side of Barrington, which connects the Algonquin Road path to the Central Road, the improvements that we did with the interchange.
Of course, we're a couple of years away yet, so who knows what'll happen. Okay, anything else on this? Any questions? We do have a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Number two, request authorization to award a contract for Phase 1 engineering services of the Beverly Road Invest in Cook project to Civil Tech Engineering of Itasca, Illinois, at a cost not to exceed $80,400.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Hanky, you wish to address this?
This project was most recently before you a couple months ago for the intergovernmental agreement with the county for the funding side of it, and this is the next step in that. We've gone through our quality-based selection process. We received 14 responses to our request for statements of interest and qualifications, and we, our team individually scored each one of the proposals, and collectively we identified Civil Tech Engineering as the top-rated respondent among those who submitted information. Civil Tech has done work for us in the past, done a great job, and we would recommend that we proceed with them. We did provide the scope of services to the county as required in the IGA, and we just heard from them today that they have no objections to what's being proposed. The one thing to note is that the negotiated price of about $80,000 is slightly higher than we had assumed in the budget, however, by about $5,000. So we would need to plan for this as a part of the 2020 budget. This project would run the duration of 2019 and probably into the mid part of 2020. So as the design progresses, we would have a better idea of what the exact final cost would be, and we can make adjustments in the 2020 budget.
Questions, comments? Thank you. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Under informational only reports this evening, we have the Transportation Division Monthly Report. Anything you wish to highlight from that, Mr. Henke?
I think you were all advised that the League of American Bicyclists had identified the village's application as an honorable mention, the first step towards the bicycle-friendly community designation. So we'll
Good
be
job.
working on working on the findings of that assessment once we get all the information and move forward from there.
Thank you. Anyone else have any? Trustee Palafis?
I'm going to wear that badge proudly tomorrow when I'm at the Schaumburg Bikeways Advisory. So they like hearing about how great we're doing,
Well, we are.
you know.
You make sure you pass that on.
I will.
Seeing nothing else, we'll mark that as received and filed. President's report?
Nothing else.
We have nothing else this evening on this agenda. We do have one item in review, which goes until May of 2019, and that's the parking permit program in the Washington Boulevard and Alcoa Lane area. If there's nothing else to come before this committee, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned, and thank you.
Okay, I would like to call the Public Work and Utility Committee to order for December 10th. May I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Newell.
Present.
Vice Chairman Gata.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Okay, everyone here and we're accounted for with a quorum. Our next item is the approval of minutes for November 26, 2018.
So moved.
I'll
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we see any deletions, corrections, nothing? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain.
Okay, thank you. Note the one abstention. Motion passed. So now we only have the one item under new business, which is the request authorization to waive bidding and award contract for replacement of 1,600 feet of 10-inch water main at Bodie Road to John Neri Construction Company out of Addison, Illinois, in an amount not to exceed $250,130.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Nebo, would you like to take it away on that one?
Sure. I was actually hoping to have nothing in the December meeting, but this kind of came up.
say.
Some of you that were at the Public Works Open House actually got to see the sections of water main that we had pulled out in one of the areas on Bodie Road. We apparently have some pretty aggressive soils that are eating at the water main from the outside and causing a number of leaks. We've had one section, the section that's near Gannon, we did multiple excavations to try to get that water main back in service. Every time we turn the water back on, we get a leak another 20, 30, 40 feet away. So at this point, that section is out of service. And in the meantime, we had another section that our leak detector actually found on Bodie a little bit further down. And it ended up being the leak coming out of the casing pipe that goes underneath the creek. So we're looking to replace that. When we did that excavation, the water main that we did expose that was outside of the casing pipe was showing signs of deterioration. So rather than mobilize and only replace a small section and pay for mobilization, we would prefer to just replace it where it makes more sense from valve to, it's not another valve, but it's where the water main makes a 45. And we measured out the footages and we looked for quotes. It's similar to Ela Road. However, Ela was we deemed that an emergency. This we consider urgent. Both of these sections are out of service right now. Ela Road was a little bit higher priority because it is one of the two transmission lines that feeds all of North Hoffman Estates. So that was more of an emergency situation. This is an elevated situation.
Can I ask, I saw like a ComEd truck sitting there near Hundley and Bodie. Is this all part of this?
That's
Because
holding a
they've got
pole.
huge-
That's holding a pole for us. Yeah.
Yeah. For
The excavation.
quite a few weeks.
The excavation. There was a ComEd pole that was there. So for the ComEd pole and the lines not to come down when we excavate close to a pole, you contact ComEd and they'll bring a truck out and they grab onto the pole and they just leave the truck there, and that's what that is.
Oh, okay, but that has nothing to do with this, all this leak going on with this one pipe running over there? No.
I think it does.
Well, because there's Hundley, and then you got Bodie, and then there's that big, huge ditch that they
Yeah.
dug out or something. Okay. Does anyone have any other questions?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Joe, you know what? I'm looking at this photograph that says Bodie Road and Gannon Drive. With the holes and that water rushing out of there, how fast do we know when there's a problem like this happening? Or how does it go? How do we find out?
Well, it depends on if there's a place for the water to go that we can't see. If there's not, we find out about it pretty quickly. But if it does hit a wetland area, or if it finds a storm sewer or a sanitary line, sometimes the leak can go on for an extended period of time, and we won't know about it. When it does become 200, 300 gallons a minute, we can generally detect something going on with our SCADA system. So the guys that are paying attention to the amount of water that's being pumped every day, they'll notice some things that are a little bit different in the SCADA system as far as the pumping levels. The towers won't refill as quickly overnight, or they won't refill at all, and they'll be like, something's going on. And then we'll generally send crews out to our usual areas to try to look and see if we can find anything. So it can go on for a long time if it's small enough.
If it's small, and if it's draining into, just like you said, the sewers and so forth, and there's nothing to trigger that to let you know from the board that you look at.
Correct. Unless it's, like I said, if it's a couple hundred gallons a minute or more, generally the SCADA crew can detect that over a couple of days. It's easier now because the water usage is relatively stable, as opposed to the summer, where if you have a hot day, your water usage is skyrocketing and there's a lot of up and down. So leaks are harder to detect that way in the summer, but in the cooler months, you know, they'll be able to see something. The problem is you don't have no idea. With 200 miles of water main, you have no idea where exactly to look. So we have our usual suspect places that we look for.
Right.
And like I said, the one that was under the creek, we actually found with we were doing a full system leak survey throughout the entire village, and they actually heard something when they hooked up to the valves and they were in the area, and they were like, wait a minute, we hear something. So we pinpointed it and dug it, and then of course it was water coming out of the casing pipe, so it's leaking underneath the creek.
Wow. Oh, thank you.
Sure.
That's all I have.
Okay. Trustee Stanton?
Joe, how fast would this be done?
We're going to have to contact NERI. We're hoping that we can get it done within a month or two. Holidays might throw a wrench into that. I don't know what their schedule looks like as far as scheduling the crew and ordering the pipe. We did request quotes for zinc-coated ductile iron, so it's the same pipe going in the ground, but this has a zinc coating on it that makes it a lot more resistant to corrosion. And then we're also having the water main poly-wrapped with a plastic. It's essentially like a plastic bag that goes over the water main when it goes in, so it doesn't have contact with the ground. So,
Yeah, I noticed we had two bids for that and also PVC piping.
correct.
So what's the difference between the two?
Well,
PVC is plastic and whatnot, but I mean, is that considered just as good almost or not?
PVC?
Yeah.
Currently, PVC is not in our standards to use. It is something that we're considering, especially in areas where we see corrosion. We wanted to see what the price difference was, and if the price difference was a lot, it would be something that we would probably sit down and actually consider. For us, when we looked at what the price difference was, It really wasn't enough in staff's mind to make a change that, kind of sets a priority or sets a precedent with the remainder of the system. My crew's never dealt with PVC water main in the ground. They've never fixed a leak on a PVC water main. We don't have a lot of experience with it, but it is something, we want to be open to, especially in areas where we have a lot of corrosion.
That can withstand it better than the piping?
Correct. It's not gonna, the corrosive soils will not affect PVC pipe at all.
That's good to know. Now, would this water main work do anything for the residents? Would their water be cut off for periods of time or no?
No, currently right now, the two sections we're looking to replace are off.
Okay.
We want to get them back up and going as soon as we can, because if we have a problem in the other areas where they're being fed through now, a shutdown could become significant because we don't have these areas feeding into certain areas. So we're able to shut these sections off now. Everybody still has water. We anticipate that happening while they're actually doing the replacement of the existing main that's in there. So it wouldn't affect anyone. Might be a day when they were switching from the old to the new, but that would be it.
Okay. No other questions?
Okay, thank you. Mayor?
This is Ron Water. I'll ask a question. On the west side of Huntington Freeman between Lakewood, or Mudhank and Lakewood, there was always a buildup of ice on the west side. There's still a little bit there, but now the bigger buildup of ice is on the west side of Huntington Freeman, really close to the Mudhank stop sign. That one wasn't bad in previous years. The other one was really bad.
Right.
And now this one's bad.
Right.
So I don't know.
I
Have
know
any
our
idea what could cause that?
We can take a look at it. I actually noticed that when I was coming back from up north a little while ago. Before I got to the stop sign, I was like, "Oh, where's that water coming from?"
Hope it's not ours.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at the map. I'm pretty sure our water main's on the other side of the road. So in order for that,
It was on the other, the part that between Mudhank and Lakewood, yeah.
Right.
So probably.
But like I said, we'll go back and if our guys notice that, we can have our leak detection people take a listen to it. A lot of things happen when winter sets in as far as groundwater goes, because you have frost pushing in, you have snow melt, you have a lot of other stuff that our guys kind of go crazy in December because they're getting called out for icing water, in places that normally isn't. And we go out there and it's snow melt from a pile that's, a ways away or whatever. And it travels weird when the frost pushes in the ground. Normal paths that water is able to travel through the ground, it can't anymore because it's frozen, so it takes a different way. So we chase a lot of those, but that's one that I actually noticed and we're going to keep an eye on.
Yeah, particularly when it's dark. I mean, the roads are clear, so people aren't thinking about ice right there.
Right, and they're like, whoa, ice.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. We'll take a look at it.
Appreciate it, Joe.
Yep.
Seeing no other questions, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
No nays, motion passed. Under reports for information only, the first one is the Department of Public Works Monthly Report. Do we have anything additional to add or anything?
Nothing additional.
Nothing? Thank you. So that will be received and filed. And the second is the Department of Development Services Monthly Engineering Report of the Transportation and Engineering Division. Do we have anything additional to add? Nothing?
additional.
Okay, so it's received and filed, and then we're on to the President's report? Anything?
Nothing else.
Nothing else? Okay, nothing under other or items in review. May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
No nays, motion passed, and we are adjourned.
Yes, I'd like to call the Public Health and Safety Committee to order on December 10th, 2018. May I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Gaeta.
Present.
Trustee Palafis.
Present.
Trustee Newell.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you, and we have a quorum. Number 2, approval of the minutes of November 26, 2018.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any additions, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We have nothing under new business. Oh, I'm sorry, one abstention. Under new business, we do not have anything. Reports, information only. 1, police monthly report. Chief, you have anything to add to that? But you know what, I would like to read something, and this is, again, it's a testament to the officers and Hoffman Estates. This is from Lauren Oskowski. It says, I was traveling northbound on Barrington Road last night at about 9:15. A car swerved in front of me, and to avoid an accident, I swerved left. I was struck sideways into snow on the median. To say I was scared would be an understatement. I tried to reverse out of the snow, but was really stuck. Therefore, thankfully, a South Barrington police car pulled up behind me and approached the car. I gave him my license and insurance, and he told me that it was not in his jurisdiction. How do you like that one? He told me he was calling Hoffman Estates Police Department. He told me that I was on a medium and needed to call a tow truck because call a tow truck because he was not going to push me out. Anyways, then Hoffman Estates Police pulled up. I also gave them my license and insurance. He said his name was Matt, asked if I was okay and if there was any damage. He also asked if anybody else was coming to pick me up, which I told him no. Within seconds, he was digging my car out. I told him I had a shovel in my trunk. Another police officer was on the right side of my car digging me out also. Within seconds, they had me back up while pushing my car free. They had blocked off the entire Barrington Road, and I was safe to back up. I cannot thank Matt and the other officer enough for saving me. They were so wonderful. When I did thank Mark, he said that it was just part of his job. Their actions are above and beyond, in my opinion. They are certainly a treasure. That goes to show you what our police force does, right, as compared to one that was right next door and didn't want to do anything because she was a resident of Hoffman Estates. So thank you, Chief. Any questions up here on that? No. Okay, number 2, Health and Human Services Monthly Report. Anything to add, Doctor? No? Okay, they're both received and filed. Number 3, Emergency Management Coordinator Monthly Report. Seeing none, received and filed. And 4, Fire Department Monthly Report. Chief, anything to add to it? Nothing to add. Okay, up here, nothing received and filed. President's report?
Nothing else, Chairman Gaeta.
Okay, nothing on other items in review. And for adjournment, happy birthday, all right, to Anna Newell, trustee Anna Newell. Looking for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Last but not least, I'd like to call to order the Finance Committee. Could I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Palafis.
Present.
Vice Chairman Newell.
Present.
Trustee Gaeta.
Present.
Trustee Mills.
Present.
Trustee Stanton.
Present.
Trustee Arnett.
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum established. I would entertain a motion for the approval of minutes from November 20th, 2018 Special Finance Committee.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. I'd like to entertain a motion for the approval of minutes from November 26th meeting, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments about the minutes from that evening? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Please note the abstention. Ayes have it, motion carries. Only one item under new business, which is a request approval of a resolution establishing higher back rates for police and fire personnel for the period January 1 through December 31st, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions, comments? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Reports, we have 3 for information only. The first is Finance Department Monthly Report. Any questions or comments to request for deferral? No? I'm glad everybody's all right with that. The second is Information Systems Department Monthly Report. Any questions or comments? I did have one comment. As Trustee Gate is not the only one that could read a story. Although that is a really great story. One of my faves in a long time. Just goes to show you where you don't want to drive. So, Fred, in your report, you talked about in one of the bullet items how your team worked with the front desk staff and development services in a way to load some kind of table or something that really kind of helped them do their job after we repriced all of the code permits and whatnot. And just that was a really great way to support the people in the front lines. Just wanted to throw that out there as an attaboy. Thanks for your team doing that. All right. Yeah. Yeah, it's good, and it brings comfort to those people, to know that they're doing the right thing with the experts right there by their side. So thank you. So that report will be received and filed, and then we have a request for deferral for the Sears Center monthly report for this month. And then on to President's report.
Nothing else, Chairman Palafis.
Nothing else? Nothing in other, and no items in review. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We're adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.